On tap for today's show, we're going to talk about potentially adding Denzel Mims to this roster, whether it's via signing or via trade. We'll unpack everything that has gone on around the New York Jets wide receiver. And then we got an injury update on Kyle Pitts right on the eve of training camp, and hopefully some good news for the former top 5 pick out of Florida. But before we get into all of that, July can be a bit of a slow month in the NFL world. No surprise. But hey, if you are looking for a Falcons YouTube channel with the training camp ramping up in preseason and regular season, following it afterwards, subscribe today and help us get more than 15 subscribers on today's show. That would beat our record this month. But let's kick things off here with this from Brian Costello, all-time New York Jets beat reporter name. The Jets plan on releasing wide receiver Denzel Mims if they can't find a trade partner first, according to sources. Mims, a 2020 second-round pick, will get a fresh start somewhere else. And right before we started filming, I saw Ian Rappaport tweet out that the Jets did not release Denzel Mims today, so they are holding out for a trade, it appears. So, should the Falcons sign Denzel Mims and or trade? I don't think a trade's going to happen because I don't think any team is going to offer anything for Denzel Mims, and the Jets know that, and they're just holding out for a last-ditch 2025th or 2028 or whatever 7th-round draft pick. So if that does not happen, it will be a signing. So should the Falcons add him? They should. I mean, you probably saw this one coming a mile away, but yeah. I really don't care who the name is or who it is. If it's a wide receiver, the Falcons should add this player because I just think they don't stand to lose anything by adding another player to this room. Yes, Denzel Mims, a former second-round pick, has not lived up to the potential, but sue me, I do not mind Kadarius Hodge having a couple of targets taken away in the preseason to learn if Denzel Mims could ever recapture what was a very successful collegiate career. Now, Mims so far in his NFL career has been bad. There's just no other way around it. He has yet to score a touchdown in the regular season. I remember when he scored a touchdown in the preseason last year, and I got some Make-A-Wish vibes of everyone was way too happy over a preseason touchdown. But in the regular season, he's only gotten worse, you could argue, since his rookie year. A lack of availability. He has not been active every single Sunday. Some healthy scratches sprinkled in here and there. Mims never got it right in New York, and that's not unique to him. There have been a lot of players with the Jets who have not gotten it right. Why? Because the Jets are a clown franchise. They continue to butcher things and screw things up. It's one of the reasons why they are the losingest franchises since 2000. They have 1 or 2 good seasons in that entire stretch, and outside of that, they have been prolific at screwing up really talented players and moving on from good players. So the only thing I had to hold on for when it comes to hope for Denzel Mims being good in the NFL somewhere else is, well, he was on the Jets, and they are a world-class organization of screwing things up. So maybe Denzel Mims could be good somewhere else where his quarterback isn't Zach Wilson, who is more focused on fucking other people's moms than getting the quarterback to wide receiver chemistry down. But let me know, should the Falcons sign Denzel Mims? S for sign or P for pass? Give me your thoughts down in the comments section below. I think they should sign him. I think a release is happening in the near future, and I hope Atlanta does their homework on Mr. Mims. Now, there have been some blue check marks in the NFL world that have echoed what I have been saying. Mike Clay tweeted out, this has been inevitable for what feels like years. I mean, what feels like years? He's only been there 3 years. He was absolutely buried on the depth chart. Curious to see if he makes some noise elsewhere. I like him for Atlanta. All right, Mike Clay, he knows ball. Moody, another NFL reporter, said that would be a great spot for Mims when asked about Atlanta. And Denzel Mims, like I talked about earlier in the show, had a very, very strong career at Baylor. 2,900 yards, 28 touchdowns. He's got some relatives in the NFL, like Marvin Mims, for example, who was drafted by the Denver Broncos. But he was one of the best in the league, 28 touchdowns, an average of 15.7 yards per reception. So he would fit in for sure. The only hiccup is he might suck at football because he sucked with the Jets, but that is the Jets. So we're going to figure out if he goes somewhere else this year, was it Marvin Mims or Denzel Mims, or was it the Jets? And there's a very real chance of he might not be a second-round talent, but he might be better than what he's been with the Jets so far because it's the Jets. The Jets stink. So Kevin Knight also tweeted this out, and I thought you guys might like it as well. Falcons are casting a wide net with their wide receiver search, so they certainly could when it comes to Atlanta being a destination for Marvin Mims. This has been a topic that Rolly and I have discussed at length throughout the summer, and I sure hope that Atlanta at least kicks the tires on adding Denzel Mims because he might not be good, but it's worth a flyer. And this is not a wide receiver room that is so loaded and has so many young players with big potential. You don't want to rob them of any targets or stunt their growth. No offense to Kadarius Hodge and Penny Hart. I wouldn't mind kicking the tires on a former second-round pick and see if he can have a rejuvenation of his career down in ATL. Switching gears, let's talk training camp news as that is right around the corner. Kyle Pitts, is he getting back to 100%? Well, he posted something very uncryptic on his social media, an IG story that, Rolly, what does it say at the bottom? You won't catch me on the pup list? Ain't no pup list for me. You put that in very small print here, but can we just talk about Kyle Pitts' car for a second? I mean, he clearly has the Florida Gators orange in there, but this looks like one hell of a Mercedes, so shout out to Kyle Pitts for knowing how to spend a signing bonus. But these are things you can file under what you love to see. Ain't no pup list for Kyle Pitts. It was a bit of a question mark. He was a non-participant during OTAs and minicamp. Arthur Smith said, we're not going to jeopardize Kyle Pitts' future this season based on stuff that we do in May or June. So if Pitts seems to be pointing in the direction of ain't no pup list for me, then I think we're pointing in a good direction of Kyle Pitts getting back to 100% after having a season-ending injury against the Bears last year. So fingers crossed that Kyle Pitts can deliver this year because it might not feel like training camp is super important and, hey, just shut him down, wait till week 1 against Carolina. I'm going to push back on that for a moment because what was Kyle Pitts' biggest downfall last year before he got hurt? He never developed any chemistry with Mariota. You need training camp. You need preseason to develop chemistry with your new quarterback, Desmond Ridder. So it is important for Kyle Pitts to have a good summer, have a good August, because he needs to get that downfield chemistry with Ridder where it's, hey, when the safety lines up this far off the hashes and I get this much space from the cornerback, I'm going to go, right? These are the types of things that quarterbacks and wide receivers and tight ends non-verbally can pick up on going, if this is the alignment or this is the setup the defense gives us, this is what we're going to do, and we don't even have to yell it to one another at the line of scrimmage. Because Pitts last year, we'll throw his stats on screen, was underwhelming. Fantasy football knowers know this. Falcons fans know this. 356 yards, 2 touchdowns. But his rookie year definitely showed a lot of potential, and the only thing that needed to be added to it was some red zone targets. 1,000 yards as a tight end your rookie season, it might not have ever felt like Kyle Pitts had takeover games, but the only thing that was really missing from it, at least on the box score, was touchdowns. And hopefully that can come in this season with Desmond Ridder looking for a big target when they get down to the red zone. I think Pitts could easily slide right into that slot position. We often see tight ends be very flexible in this day and age of football. And then have Jonnu Smith on the line as well, someone that Arthur Smith utilized very well when they overlapped in Tennessee and they added earlier this offseason. The Falcons are not going to toss out a bunch of heavy wide receiver sets. You might see a lot of personnel with 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, 2 running backs, some kind of combination of that because they want to have some more bunch formations. They are not going to be a West Coast offense, right? They're not going to try and spread the defense out and air raid the football with Desmond Ridder. They want to get their best players on the field, and that's going to be 2 tight ends with Jonnu Smith and Kyle Pitts, Tyler Algier, Cordero Patterson, Drake London. So this would definitely fit into an offense where I think Kyle Pitts could thrive if he's put in the slot position and he's asked to more or less be a wide receiver. But what are your expectations for Pitts going into year 3? I'm going to leave this one open-ended. Is it Pro Bowl or bust? Is it 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns? Just give me some sort of benchmark that if Kyle Pitts reaches that, you will feel like this season was a success for the former Florida Gator. It's time. It's time for our 11th draft. Can you believe it, Rolly? We have
time is flying by.
Training camp's almost here.
Training camp's almost here, and one of my favorite drafts, I think, is here as well. Is we're doing TV shows to binge. I feel like a lot of people can relate because most of the world watches TV and binge watches TV shows.
Good analysis there.
Thank you. I mean, when you think of hard-hitting analysis, I want you to think Rolly from Falcons today.
Most people watch TV. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say everyone, but most people.
Most people.
I mean, there are people that don't.
All right, kick us off with your 1-1 pick.
So my 1-1.
By the way, I will add, sorry, it's binge, not favorite TV shows all
Correct.
time, and that is a very important word.
Because the order of my list would have changed if it were my favorite shows rather than binge. But number 1 is The Office, and I'll just be transparent for you guys and be out in the open. The Office might have not been my 1-1 in a natural draft by myself, but Mr. Peterson is the biggest fan of The Office that I know, so I knew PD was going to take The Office with his 1-1 pick, so I had to take it if I wanted it on my team. So I reached a little bit in my book to take The Office, but Michael Scott, Krasinski's character, Jim.
Oh my God, come on.
No,
you did that to screw
mental
me.
break. I had a mental block. But The Office, you could put it on and in the background and have it be there for hours and hours and hours.
Okay, I don't even want to dive into that. My first pick was Ozark. I will admit right now, I did not do a great job with this draft. I think I reached on Ozark, but I remember Ozark came out while I was in college, and I remember staying up till 2 or 3 a.m. binging Ozark. I watched it the moment it came out, was obsessed with it. Every time a new season dropped, I watched it the first night, tried to watch it all the way through. So Ozark, such a great show. A lot of it was filmed in Atlanta around Lake Lanier. I've been to the Birdhouse before, so great show.
Yeah, with my second pick, I went with Entourage, and it's not a show that is like going to leave you hanging to where you have to watch the next episode. But when I watched Entourage the first way through, it is so fun, so entertaining. You've got Ari Gold, you've got Johnny Drama, you got Turtle. It is so much fun and so funny that you just constantly want to watch it and never turn it off, because when you're watching it, you feel like you're part of the entourage, you're part of the crew, and it just makes you smile. So it's hard to turn this TV show off when you're watching it in general. One of my favorite shows of all time.
Really, with the fourth pick, I went with Friday Night Lights. I'm not a massive Friday Night Lights fan, but I do remember a time when this had a chokehold on the country. And you had to watch it. And if you had never watched it before, you binged it when the first time you came across it. I mean, just so many great characters, so many old characters. I'm supposed to believe Tim Riggins was a sophomore that first season? No way. But still, an absolute cult classic. Not even a cult classic, just an absolute classic. Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, with my next one, you talk about having a chokehold on America. Game of Thrones certainly had that. This is actually my personal favorite TV show of all time, but it can be watched and binged. Once you get into it and get locked in with the characters, this is one of those shows that at the end of every episode, there is a moment where you're like, well, shit, I have to watch the next one.
Yeah, Game of Thrones is a show that you cancel plans to watch.
Yeah.
There was a time in America where you did not go out because you wanted to watch more Game of Thrones. My third overall selection, I went with Stranger Things. I was not in early on the ground floor with Stranger Things. I first started watching it last fall, and I binged it so hard. So we talk about TV shows to binge. If you weren't in early with Stranger Things and you caught on late like myself, you caught up quickly. So this is an absolute binge classic.
This one's a sleeper, and I don't know if a lot of people have even watched this show, but the show Suits. It's so good. It's so rewatchable. You got Mike. You got Harvey. They're just the dynamic duo of dynamic duos, and they go out there and kick some ass. And it's just fun to watch the lawyer part of the show. It's just a good show. I love watching.
I got to watch Suits. I do. My final pick is Breaking Bad. I think a lot of people right now watching are probably yelling at us for not picking this earlier. And I agree that the order of these picks is a little screwed up, but I think the team we put together here, both very good squads. Office, Entourage, you have some heavy hitters, Game of Thrones, But man, Stranger Things, Breaking Bad, like they can go pound for pound with a lot of these shows
I mean,
here.
I would agree. I mean, our squads are definitely up there. I think we're both competing for a championship. That's for sure. But I tell you what, if you just want to compare squads, The Office and Game of Thrones, that's D-Wade and LeBron level, where they're winning championships on championships.
I can't argue that. Now, make sure you comment down below who had a better draft, Petey or Rowley, because we like to keep score, and it's 5-5 right now. So if you want to put the right answer in, type Petey down below. If you want to put
the right answer, the real right answer, type Rowley.
All right, that's going to do it for us on today's show. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll catch up with you guys later.